Hey Last Looks crew. How are you, my Last Looks crew? Are you working? Are you not? How are you spending your time? How are you bringing in the cash? It sounds like work has died down a lot in some areas that are normally much busier. Let's hope it's just part of the ebb and flow of the industry and things will balance out soon. I know for one, I would like to shoot where I live, and currently there isn't much happening in little old Hollywood. I will say the great thing about being a hairdresser is there are so many different areas you can work in. So it's always nice to know that if I had to get back into the salon, cutting bar or barbershop, I'm sure I could. It's what I used to do when I lived in New Zealand, as the work would come in waves. And when it was quiet, back to the barbershop I would go. Great way to get those cutting skills and speed back up to snuff as well. Anywho, a little about this rerun episode with hair designer Camille Friend. Since we recorded this interview back in, I think it was 2020, Camille has kept kicking ass and was nominated for an Oscar for her work on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And her Hair Scholars School is offering more exciting new courses. Reminder, live Q&A this weekend. We are going into the lab with mold maker Rob Freitas. So grab your ticket, use the code LASTLOOKSPOD, all one word, for your 40% off and submit your questions for Rob. Link is in the show notes of this episode, and if you want to check out all our past amazing live Q&As, be sure to head to the website last-looks.com and look for the live Q&A section. Okay, time to read a review. And remember, if you want me to send you fun Last Look stickers, then write a review, take a screenshot, and send it my way with your postal address anywhere in the world, and I will get them off to you ASAP. You can slap them all over your kit. Okay, this review is from SW1145MW, interesting code name. I assume you know who you are. Great questions and guests. I love listening to this podcast and hearing all my peers and co-workers answer Jamie's thoughtful questions. Perfect length episodes to listen to during a commute or tidying around the house. I love hearing all the behind the scenes tips and tricks. Thanks for hosting this insightful podcast. Well, cheers to you, SW1145MW. Okay, I'll shut up now. My name is Jamie Lee, a hairstylist working in film, and this is the Last Looks podcast, a show where I catch up with hair and makeup artists working in the film industry around the world. And today on this rerun episode, I'm chatting with hairstylist Camille Friend. On with the show.
And now, our feature presentation.
Pictures up.
Last looks. Rolling.
And action.
Welcome to the Last Looks podcast, Camille.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am good.
Awesome. Hey, now I would like you to finish a sentence for me, okay?
Okay.
Once upon a time, there was a girl named Camille, and when she grew up, she wanted to be...
A pharmacist.
You did?
Yep.
Where did that come from? Did you have a friendly pharmacist when you were growing up?
Maybe. No, I always wanted to be a pharmacist. I don't know why. And I think it's just like the chemical components and mixing always like intrigued me, and I always liked it. Plus, I have to tell you the truth. When I was in high school, I had a small internship with a pharmacist, but it's always something I always wanted to do, is be a pharmacist. So I guess in a way, I'm a pharmacist, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still dealing with chemical compounds and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So at what point did you move away from that and start your direction towards doing hair?
Well, I've always done hair like my whole life. I used to always put my mother's hair color on and my aunt's relaxer and rolling their hair like ever since I was little. Plus, I grew up in the salon. Like I have several family members who have salons. I'm a third generation hairstylist, and like my Uncle Robert, I used to always work in the salon. So I always liked to do hair, and I didn't know that was going to be my career. But then down the line, I was like, this is what I want to do. So there we go. I went to beauty school, and that was it.
And where did you go to beauty school? Where were you living at the time?
I was living in Tempe, Arizona.
Oh, nice.
And that's where I went to beauty school.
Oh, that's cool. So when you came out of beauty school, what did you do? You worked went to salon work and that type of thing?
Oh, yeah, totally. When I first started the beginning of my career, I started with a woman. Her name is Joanne Moore, and she's a great hairstylist, and she's from the Midwest, and she was an extensionist. So I started my first part of my career, all I did was extensions. And we had worked in a salon with, I worked in a salon with her and her daughter, and it was called Any Hair. And we basically did, it was an extension salon back in the day. And, it was like one of those exciting times, extensions. It was a whole different era. And like, I remember like the first, like our second year, we made $1 million. But I mean,
Oh, wow.
back in those days, we worked. I mean, all I can say is we went in the morning, like with Good Morning America, and we were there to like back in the day. I think it was David Letterman that we used to watch. That's like 11 o'clock. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we would put in, you would put in a full day in the salon. It was real work. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And probably
Oh
what,
yeah.
like 6 days a week?
Actually, we did 5 or 6 days a week. We did 5 or 6 days
Yeah.
a week. And
Oh,
we
yeah. It
over
is.
like it was like plus we just built a good clientele, and I mean we were really lucky. It was just a whole different era. Like let's see, like the Phoenix Cardinals had just come to town into Arizona. And so I had a whole bunch of the Phoenix Cardinals wives. I had regular girls. I had stripper girls who wanted super long hair. And back then, the longest hair that you could get was about 18 inches. That was the
Oh, wow.
longest. And so that's how we got started. And we did all different types of extensions. So I started as an extensionist.
That's awesome having that variety of clientele as well. You
Yes.
just really get to learn about people and their lives, and that's very cool.
Lots of things, hair color, like especially one thing when you're an extensionist, you really learn how to match hair color. Because you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
take from a raw product, and then let's remember this was the Stone Age. There was
Mm.
not as many colors as there is now. So if your
Mhm.
if your client had highlights, you couldn't get 1822 number 6. It wasn't like that. You got a 22, and then you better add the 18 and the 6. Like, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't the range. You didn't have anything. But the greatest thing about that period of time though is the hair was pure. It was raw. And the hair really lasted. Like you could wear your extensions for a year without changing them,
Wow.
because the market wasn't flooded. It wasn't oversaturated. So,
Right.
and then I mean, I was really, really lucky, and just like knock on wood, back in those days, I met Helene at Extensions Plus when she was starting out too. And we built a friendship. And so from Arizona, I would order my hair from Extensions Plus. So I've been ordering since Helene from the 80s.
Wow. That's so
Hmm.
cool. I
Yeah.
love those relationships that you make along the way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So at what point, where do you go from there?
Well, from there, I, kick around and, work here and there. And then honestly, I fell in love, like a young girl. I fell in love and I ended up in LA.
I wondered what brought you to LA. Love.
Yeah, it was love. I was dating this guy and I came to LA, and I just decided, okay, I was going to try to go into the best salon that I could. So, like, I remember
Hmm.
I auditioned for, back in the day, I auditioned for Jose Bear, because these were the salons that were happening when I first got here, and a couple other salons. And I ended up going to a salon, which was called John Atchison. And John Atchison, at the time, he had left Vidal Sassoon. So he had a very much, I call it Vidal Sassoon-esque salon, where you learned hair coloring, you learned cutting, very traditional. So I started
Hmm.
with John Atchison, went through the assistant program for like a year, maybe a year and a half, just assisting, and then moved to the floor. And I worked at his salon for a long time, and that kind of gave me my foundation.
I mean, not for everybody, but I think a lot of people, it's having that foundation of actually working on the floor for a while is definitely helpful. I mean, everything from customer service to professional
Yes.
ethics to consultation to just the repetitive nature of doing things over and over again, and like, really figuring out how it works. I
Oh
think
no,
it's
I totally agree. I totally, totally agree. And I think too, what the salon at that time is like, going through an internship program and being an assistant for a whole year. It humbles you and it gets your head in the right place. And then you have to learn how to like properly shampoo. You have to learn how
Mm-hmm.
to sell product in a real way. And you're selling, if you're working in a high-end salon, even back then, we were selling $25 bottles of shampoo. So, you have to,
Mm.
you have to know how to sell, you have to really know the product line. So I think that's like really, really important. Even in what we do, it's still, to know your merchandise and know your clients. So but it was great because
Yeah.
John, he working for him, I went to Vidal Sassoon. I learned a lot of color classes. I went to Goldwell School. Like I was really fortunate, like working for him. He would really help you go to different places for education. He was very interested in, and he was really supportive of it. So that was really a good foundation for me.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, that's going to help him in the long run because you're going to be on the floor doing amazing work because he's put the
It,
training and time into
exactly,
it.
exactly. And you know what's interesting? We call ourselves this is just an inside silly thing. We call ourselves Atchies, the people who used to work for John Atchison. And and actually there's a few of us that actually work in the business. So,
Okay.
the training was really real, and it worked. So,
That's awesome. I'm sure
yeah.
you're forever thankful for that
Oh
foundation.
yeah. Totally, 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 totally.
That's amazing. So, at what point does the film TV world kind of step into your life, or did you step into it? Which way did this happen? How did this come about?
I would say it fell on me. It wasn't
Very good.
I wasn't trying. I wasn't looking. And, it kind of just fell on me at first like a rock, but now it's more like a blanket. It's good. Like, I mean, honestly, I wasn't looking for it. Literally, I was working in another salon after John Atchison, and I was working with somebody
Hmm.
who was in the union. Anyway, one day he called and he was like, "They need somebody to come on set," and I was like, "Okay, I'll go." I wasn't even looking, and then there was a woman who used to come into our salon that worked in the business, and I would always talk to her, and I would cut her hair sometime. And she called me and she goes, "I know that you can curl hair really well." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I
Hmm.
need somebody just to come down and curl wigs because I can't keep up with doing this actress and curling wigs and being on set." And I didn't know what she meant. Now I know what she means.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a main actress who has a lot of looks, keeping up with the wigs, her on set, and all of it, it's a lot. So I
Yeah.
went and I curled wigs for her, and literally they just told me, they were like, "This movie is going to turn union." I was like, "What's the union? I'm just here curling wigs. I don't even know what you're talking about." And the movie turned union. I didn't even try. I'm being honest, and
So-
here I am.
You're like the 1% of people who just
I know. I'm
fell
probably the
into it.
one
That's
or half a
amazing. It's
percent.
amazing.
Right.
It's probably the shortest, simplest story I've heard of getting into the union as well. Everyone has like these long, painful stories of trying to get in. It's
I
amazing.
know. I know. It just honestly, it just happened, and then I was in the union.
So what made you? Because I mean, you could have gone a different way. You could have gone being like, nah, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to go back to the salon. So at what point did it tip you towards actually joining and heading in that direction?
You know what, Jamie? I really don't even know. I'm serious.
You
It just honestly, I just went with it. Like, I mean,
went
and
with the
I'll tell you,
flow.
actually, I'll tell you the second part of the story, which is inside the first story. I think kind of this helped. So when I was on that movie, I ended up like sometime helping out. So there was a girl who was just basically a day player. She was an actress, and I think she worked like 3 days. And she literally said to me, she goes, "I just filmed this pilot, and they said that I could bring a hairstylist." And she was a black woman. Her name is Simbi Kali, and she's an actress. And I said, "Oh, okay." She goes, "Would you want to come and do my hair?" I said, "Okay, I'll try it." And then I didn't know I was going to Third Rock from the Sun, and ended up like, being
Oh,
nominated for an Emmy and being there for 6 years. But I just literally,
oh my
I
goodness.
fell into it. Like I didn't have a plan. I just went with it. And I ended up being with her for 6 years, and, being nominated for Emmy and like buying my first house all from working on Third Rock from the Sun. So
That's so
that's how
awesome.
it
Just
stayed with
following
it.
that path and going with the
Yeah,
flow and
just
seeing
go
where it
with the
takes
flow.
you.
Yeah, that's it.
That's very cool. I love Third Rock from the Sun. That's great.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Miss Pixie Swartz, I'll give a shout out to Pixie Swartz. She hired me sight unseen and gave me a chance, and we're still friends to this day. And I'm always indebted to her. I'm always thankful for what she taught me. She taught me so many things, and I felt blessed. So
That's very cool. So your consistent start in was television.
yes,
And how, like, you've done a bit of TV, right? But now you're
a
mainly
little
doing
bit.
films. So
Yeah,
what was your first like full-time film that you went to work on?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think which one came first. Uh-oh, this might be hard. I'm old, my memory. I want to say, I want to say the first movie that I did. I'm trying to make sure I'm saying the right movie. I might have to look this up. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm correct, the next one I did was Double Take, which actually that would be correct because I was working on the Malcolm and Eddie show. And Eddie, I was doing Eddie
Mm-hmm.
Griffin, who I love that man. We used to have so much fun. He used to make me laugh, and he's a cancer also. So, shout out to Eddie Griffin, cancer, my cancer buddy. I love him. Um, so Eddie was like, "I'm going to do a movie this summer with this guy, Orlando Jones. I need you to come do my hair." I was like, okay. So literally, I went and did Eddie Griffin for the double take, and we had a ball, and I'm still actually friends with him and Orlando Jones. And then after that, I started working with a woman named Irma Kent. She is a hairstylist who really took me under her wing. And I did like 5 movies with her. Like, and she really,
Oh wow.
she really put me on the right path. I did some Eddie Murphy movies with her. It was a good time. It was a good time. The first movie I went out of town with Irma Kent was 8 Mile. We went to Detroit. So that was like the first time I went out of town in the winter to Detroit. And I'm a girl from Arizona. That
Oh.
was hilarious.
Everyone's like, oh, Camille's a
Hilarious.
softie.
No, yeah, it was
Oh my
hilarious because
goodness.
it was like, oh my God. But thank God, I mean, I'll say this. I had a great boyfriend who lived in New York, and his name was Alan Brown, and he got me all straightened out. He took me to the store, got me my moon boots, my Cohart jacket. That's what we used to all wear back there, and ski pants.
Mm.
Like, he got me all hooked up.
So you were ready.
I was ready, but it was cold, but it was a great experience. And then from there, I went on a little journey with Brittany Murphy. I did her after that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So, right from the beginning, you were doing personal work. So that's nice variety, kind of
Yeah.
going from being general kind of hairstylist to personal and back and forth. Have you had a preference? Like what differences do you find between doing like being the hairstylist for multiple cast or just being a personal?
I think they both have great things about them. It just depends, like,
Mm,
what you want to do. I think some movies, like, I'd like to do movies if they have like a big design element. If you're really going to design something and a huge something. I love being the department head because I like just having my fingers in all of it. I mean, you worked with me, I like having my fingers in all of it, and creating like some great stuff. But then it's nice, like, if you have a
yeah.
client that you really like. I only like to work with people I really like. I don't like working people I really don't like.
Mm,
I truly like
no,
to be,
well,
if I'm going to be around you for that
that's
many
good.
hours, I want to actually like you. So, it works out too to have somebody who, if you really like them and you can be in their personal space, that works out great too. So
Yeah,
it's both.
absolutely. Hey, I was going to ask what it means to you to be a personal hairstylist for an actor. What do you feel you need to bring to the table when you're being a personal for somebody?
Oh, I think, when you're being a personal, and I'll say this even as a department head, you're of service. So, I mean, when
Hmm.
you're working with somebody, it's not only is that you're doing their hair or you're doing their makeup, but I mean, also, you have to look out sometimes to like what their personal needs are, especially when you're a personal. And I think you're really of full service when you're a personal. But like, people who I like and enjoy their company, I don't mind being a personal. I don't mind being around you, 14, 15, 16 hours a day. If you're a nice
Hmm.
person. And I like the collaborative. Like, a lot of times I like the one-on-one collaborative with people. That's a lot of fun. And if people allow you to use your creative energy, that really works for me. So That's the part I like about it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you're in the close proximity working with someone for that long, you really want to have a good working relationship and just,
Oh yeah,
yeah, as you say, get on, be able to have fun, collaborate together,
right.
just, yeah, have a happy space.
Yeah, have a happy space. But I think the fine line is, and I think this is something you always have to remember is like even if you're a personal, I always want to always remind people that it's still a working relationship. You can be
Mm,
friendly with your talent, but still remember
mm,
you are on the job. You're there to do something and you have a certain requirement as their hair or makeup person to do your job. Even if you go out after you have drinks or you go to dinner, don't forget when they sit in the chair at 6 a.m., you are on your job. And you have to
yeah,
remember there's a fine line, but you can be friendly, but it's not friends, in my opinion.
it's a good thing to remember. Just keep it professional.
Right. And I think people get caught up in, oh, I went to dinner with this person, or oh, I hung out with this person. Okay, that's all fine. But in the morning, you better have that makeup brush ready or that curling iron better be on when they come in. Don't slack
Mm.
because you are having a social interaction with them. That does not take away from your duty as the hair or the makeup person.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, now at what point did you become a department head? What was your first department head job?
Well, that's another one I just kind of fell into. So this this could be
Carry
you could
on.
call this the fall into it. The first movie I department headed is a little movie that I did with Jamie Foxx. So
Oh, nice.
I forgot exactly how. I can't remember exactly how I met Jamie. That's crazy. I can't remember. I'm serious. I can't remember how we hooked up. But anyway, so I got a call to meet Jamie Foxx, and he was going to Saskatchewan, Canada, and going to
Oh,
this place called no Regina. I'm not making this up. So here we go. That was my first department head job, and the movie is called Held Up. I think the movie, the title is still Held Up, and we went to Canada and did this movie, and I had never department headed, so I went, to help him and do him and department head this movie. So that's
okay.
how that was my first one.
Was it a contemporary film?
Yeah, it was a modern day. It was like a comedy kind of heist kind of movie. It's actually really
Okay.
really silly, but it was a good experience to me. That was like I went out of the country. I had to get all my stuff together, going to Canada, and it was a good experience. And Jamie Foxx to this day, he's a friend and he's lovely, and I love to see his career grows, and he's seen my career grow, and so it's been good.
That's very cool. And I think it's nice to kind of just gently go into the head of department on something that is modern day and fun, as you
Yes.
say, and just to be able to kind of cruise into it instead of stepping into something that's maybe like 1930s and you've got 500 background and you're like, oh my God.
No, exactly. No, I totally agree, and I think, and as we were talking before, I think that's one thing that would be great if we could implement some of the systems that Europe has, and is where people getting the training. They're starting as a junior, they're starting in crowd, and they can build their resume until they get to a department head. But because if you go through all the steps, it equips you for everything that you need to be a department head. Where a lot of
Yeah.
times if you
Yeah.
get thrown into being a department head, it's like being thrown into like a person who can't swim into water. And you shouldn't it
Mm,
shouldn't be that experience.
no. It sounds like you had a good experience though. So
I
that's,
did. We
I like
did. We
that.
had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
And then tell me about Dreamgirls, because that's a pretty awesome film. Was that a lot of fun?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dreamgirls was a lot of fun. I mean, Dreamgirls is one of those movies like all I can say is I don't even know how I got that movie. It's another one. It just kind of fell on me. I guess I would say this about Dreamgirls. I'll make a very long story short. A friend of mine, Tim Buchanan, and I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
Tim, and I met Tim at a barbecue, literally. And he was like, I want to do that movie Dreamgirls. I said, oh, so do I. So he goes, okay, if you hear something, you tell me. And if I hear something, I'll tell you. Now, I didn't know him. So I was like, okay. So literally, we worked the project, getting the project together. So if he heard something, I would tell him and vice versa. And then my good friend Sharon Davis was the costume designer. So long story short, I mean, me and Tim were like doing the auditions. It was a very big audition process. Like they auditioned girls from all around the world came in to sing like for these parts. I'm being serious. It was like the talent that
Wow.
I saw in those days. I was like, I'm sorry. There's some girls out there who can really sing and dance and perform. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
some awesome ladies out there. So we did that, and then through the process, we're just working the process. We end up getting the movie, and neither one of us had the resume to get it. So I knew it was God, the universe, and some angels and some heavenly intervention. Because I mean, I remember after we got the job, I remember going to talk to one of the producers, and on their desk they had all these resumes, and there was resumes for people who had Oscars, who had Emmys, I mean, who had all kind of accolades. And me and Tim, the fresh fish, we get the movie. So what's meant for you is meant for you.
Yeah, I love hearing those stories because it's like it's that stepping stone, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's people taking a chance on someone fresh and new, and it's
Right.
awesome.
So that was
I
that
love
was
it.
like that's how we ended up doing that. And me and Tim, we've done a lot of projects since then. And he's one of my favorite collaborators. I really like working with Tim.
Yeah, we loved him. Tim's awesome.
Yes.
I love how, just quickly with Tim, how I found him so immediately welcoming and friendly in a work
Yes.
environment. Like
Yes.
he's awesome like that. It's nice to come across, especially if you're like coming into on a job and you don't really know anybody, and then there's friendly Tim, and it's great. I love it.
No, I love that too. I love that about him, that he's so friendly, and he's just, Tim is just who he is, and he's always been that way, and that's who he is. Like he could be, I mean, Tim could probably be the mayor of 706 because I mean, Tim knows everybody. We go places, I'm like, oh, who's that? I mean, he knows everybody. Hair,
That's
makeup,
awesome.
wardrobe, barbers. I'm like, he knows everybody. Yeah.
That's very cool. Hey, now you've done a few Marvel films, Camille Friend. Do you want to talk about
Maybe,
those?
maybe something like that.
How many have you done, lady? How many have you done?
Uh,
I'm like, do you know off the top of your head? Probably
I
not.
think six. I think six.
Wow, that's amazing.
I
That's very
think
cool.
I think six. I think six. Last time I counted, I think it was six. Yeah, I think
That's
six.
very cool.
Yes.
Now, tell me, were you ever a comic book reader?
Yes. I was a comic book reader. I was. I was
You
always a
were?
comic. Yeah, when I was a kid, we used to always read comic
Oh,
books. It was
that's
back in the
very
day
cool.
where you rode your bike. You actually rode your bike to the comics book store. You rode your bike to the record store. Cause like back in those days, I mean, we were free. And your mom wasn't like your mom, like now the moms take the kids everywhere. Your mom was like, get on your bike and ride over there. Like, even if it was
Yeah.
like 3 miles, you could, it was just a different time. You could be free. So we used to ride to the comic book store. We used to ride to the record store. Like my mom didn't take us. You rode there. Like I remember
Yeah.
one of the first things I wanted to do when I came to LA was I wanted to go to Tower Records on Sunset because I'm a huge
Mm,
music person. You know that about me. I'm a music person. So
yeah.
the first thing I wanted to do is go to Tower Records on Sunset because it was such a staple, and that was the mecca. And I remember staying in there like for 3 hours. Yeah.
You're like, this is awesome.
Right. Yeah.
That's
So,
very cool.
that was important to me.
So, how has the experience been working for Marvel? Like being able to create within that Marvel universe?
You know what? Marvel's been good. I take that back. I've done 7 Marvel movies. So I retract that. I've done 7 Marvel movies. I just counted. You know what? Marvel has been a great experience for me, and I owe going to Marvel to Lou Espedito. He's one of the I think he's a vice president, or he's one of the presidents now. I can't remember if he's a president or a vice president now. He was somebody who was instrumental. I had done movies with him before when he was a line producer or an executive producer. So this is just how you have to be ready for your opportunity. Literally, I saw him somewhere in Beverly Hills, and I was like, Lou, hey, what are you doing? He was like, oh yeah, I just started with Marvel. I was like, you need me over there. I want to. And he was like, are you ready to do a superhero movie? I said, I'm ready. I want my opportunity. Give it to me. And literally, he called me up, and I ended up going to do, Captain America: Winter Soldier, and there we go. So That's it.
Oh, that's very cool.
So it's been good for my career. It's Marvel movies are worldwide. People love them. People love the characters. And it's been a fun journey with them. It's been a fun journey. They're very close knit type of family. So it's very it's an easy quote unquote studio to work for because you don't answer to a lot of people. You only answer to a few, and they know what they
Mm-hmm.
need, and they know what they want, and then you just do what you do, and they give you all the resources that you need to do the job.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome. Having that
yeah,
support behind you while you're trying to get
yeah,
it done. It's great.
yeah.
Um,
You've done some Marvel movies.
yes, lady. Hey,
Yeah.
now it would be silly of me not to speak about Black Panther. I wanted to ask, and I never did ask you this, but when you first got that job, did you have any idea that it would be so incredibly received in such a positive way?
No, Jamie, you don't remember? I thought I'm serious. I'll say it. I thought either it was going to be a big hit or a big flop.
Well, yeah, it can go
Because
either way.
I'll be
Anything can
honest,
go either way.
I'm just going to be honest. I wasn't sure that our world was ready for a black superhero. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to be really, really honest. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And honestly, Sam Jackson was like, "Are you crazy?" He goes, this is going to be Marvel's biggest movie." I said, "I don't know about all that." He's like, "Wait and see." And
Oh, he knew, huh?
oh boy, he was right. And I mean, I think that we did beautiful work on that movie. I think that it changed the landscape of what people look at when they look at a film with black people, and it told a great story of family and community inside
Yeah.
of a superhero movie. So I think that's why it was so well received, and it was just one of those times. It was the right movie at the right time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's nice to see something with so much depth that is a comic book movie. Like
Hmm.
it
And
was beautiful.
I mean, you were there. We were very fortunate. Like, we really had a lot of latitude. Like, it wasn't like people didn't say, "Oh, don't do this," or "Don't go too far on this end." I mean, we were really open to do the look. We were really open to it. So,
Yeah. It was a
yeah,
very
I
creative
mean,
time. It was very cool.
yeah,
Hey, I want to know
go ahead.
what has come from that experience for you personally, but also as an artist.
As an artist,
Just everything from working the job, seeing the film come out, and then everything that kind of happened after that as well.
I'll say this: like, Black Panther was an experience that I didn't know it was going to be, and then I just decided to go on the journey. And it was like nice to be. I mean,
Hmm.
I've done movies like Dreamgirls. We had a nice ride too, in the sense of, and I call it a nice ride. Is the ride is after the movie's over, when it comes out and it's well received, and people are calling you and they want you to go here, they want you to go there. So all of those things all came about very much on Black Panther and actually Dreamgirls, where you just get opened up to exposed to so many different places that you might not have gone. Like, I went to the Women in Film luncheon, and we got on stage, and they gave us little trophies for the women of Black Panther. Like, all the little things. I went to the Essence luncheon. I went to this luncheon and this interview. I was telling my girlfriend yesterday, she said, "Oh, I need a fancy dress." I said, "Oh, honey, you need to come over here. Don't go no buy no fancy dresses." Because I have a ton of them from that period, and I've only worn them like maybe like one time. So it was like
Hmm.
great experience in that sense. And, and just to talk to people and see how much the movie touched their heart. And, and just even like the black children, where they could see somebody, that their face on camera, and, the black family, and just of
Yeah.
course, the hair, the power of the beautiful black hair, and, the different shapes and textures, and how our hair can be beautiful. And you don't have to use heat on it. You don't have to straighten it in its natural form. And I think that was one of the things that that we did in Black Panther. And I think that was part of one thing that pushed the natural hair movement. And I think we had a lot to do with that. And that's something that I'll always be proud of.
Absolutely, lady. Absolutely. I remember actually, I think it was on Captain Marvel, you were going to speak to kids, the little kids in
Yeah.
school,
No,
right? I
I did.
remember.
Like, I still do,
Yeah.
which is a lot of fun. Like, it actually really helped me open up myself to being a mentor, and going out and talking about hair and talking to kids, and I talk to beauty schools. I've got to go to L'Oreal and talk to people about Black Panther. So it's really opened up a lot of doors for me to talk about, not only what we do in the business, talking about Black hair, talking about what we do in the business, and just also just telling people and kids in places like I went to speak to people in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at a beauty school. And it's like letting people know in Baton Rouge, look, I'm a little girl from Tempe, Arizona. You could do the same thing that I do. Like you have to open your lens and know absolutely you can do this. And so that's part of my mission too. Speak to young people and speak to people who think, oh, I couldn't do this. It's like, yes, you can. You got to work hard, but it's okay. You can have this experience and you can have this lifestyle, and it's been a fun ride. It's been a fun ride.
That's very awesome. It must feel really nice to inspire others like that,
Well,
Camille.
I
That's
think
really
honestly,
nice.
at this point in my career, that's one of my biggest joys. Like I really, really love, and you know this about me, like I love going to go and talk to the children. I love going to talk to beauty schools. I love encouraging people about what this business is and what you can be in this business. And like, I love encouraging other stylists and makeup artists about their careers. Like, don't be discouraged. I mean, I don't care how long it takes you to get into the union. Don't be discouraged. Don't give up. Like, I'm very much, and there's enough room for all of us in this. There's enough room. There's enough sunshine for all of us.
If you want it, go get it.
Exactly. You just got to work for it. Like, that's the other thing. People think, oh, it's just supposed to come. No, you got to work really, really hard for it, but it's okay.
That's very cool. Hey, now tell me, Quentin Tarantino. You've worked with that cool cat a couple of times. How was that?
Quentin, I'll put it this way. I told you this before. I will do a movie in a swamp with Quentin. Like, Quentin is Quentin. He's Quentin Tarantino. But I love working with Quentin. I think he's smart. He's fun. His scripts are like awesome. And again, he's another guy who gives you really a lot of room to create and make things and experiment with things. And that's what I love about him. His answer is not like, no, let's not do this. His answer is like, let's try it. So I love that person who, like, I'm always happy with the directors who want to go on the journey, because I'm down for the journey. I'm totally into going on the journey. So that's the best part about that. And then, hey, Quentin, he has his crew, they've been with him and they're just great people. They're like family. And, and Quentin throws a great party. So, hey, like, you can't go wrong with that.
So you did Django with him, and
Hateful Eight.
Now I'm assuming both of those are on locations, and I'm feeling like very different locations from each other. So how was that?
Both the locations, all the locations for those were like, it's that extreme heat or extreme cold. So you have both of them. But the thing about it, like even like I think that was Django. I remember, where were we in? Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which, I'm serious, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Beautiful landscape, just beautiful. And I remember, like, everybody's trailers froze over except ours, the hair and makeup trailer. So I remember it was like Oscar season. So we were in the trailer, like everybody, the cast in the trailer. People had bought lawn chairs, and we were all in the trailer watching movies till it was time for your turn to go to set. So I think about like all those like great experience where you have like literally we're in lawn chairs, people are hanging out, and we're just in the hair and makeup room, and just everybody is in the trailer and just having a good time. And no matter that it was just a storm outside and everything was frozen over, we were still happy. We're just together.
Yeah. And the show keeps going on. You just go out there and do it.
Exactly.
You put on a million layers and you go out and deal with it.
Exactly. So, that's what we do.
It's a good thing you love what you do.
And at the end of the day, I mean, I always think about like what is going to be on that screen. I was telling one of my girlfriends actually yesterday. She was going, and I won't get too deep. She was going on and on about certain situations, and I said, "Hey," I said, "Stop it." She goes, "What?" I says, "All you need to think about is what is going to be on that screen. That's it. That's your job. Forget about the rest. Forget about the
Right.
rest."
Yeah. Don't get
Yes.
distracted by
Forget about the rest.
stuff.
Just remember what's
Yeah.
on that screen. That's our job.
Yeah.
You know?
That's very true. It's a good way to just cut out a bunch of the
Yeah.
bullshit, really,
Stop
isn't
it.
it?
That's what I always go back to. That's my mantra.
Yeah.
Let's whatever. What's on screen? What's going to be on the screen? What are we filming today? That's what's important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true. Hey, now one piece of advice you were given that has stuck with you when you were coming up.
Actually, one of the piece of advice my friend who I started out with, Brian Andrews, he taught me one thing about being a personal.
Mm.
And honestly, you can like the thing I told you earlier, literally about you can be friendly, but you're not friends with your talent. They're not your buddies,
Mm-hmm.
they're a friend, and you still have a job to
Mm-hmm.
do. That's one thing. And I think the other thing for me was just to stick with the process. Just if you just follow the process, because sometimes with movies, things change. Things don't get frustrated in the change. Just keep with the process. Just keep going because eventually you'll get there. You'll definitely eventually get there. And I
Yeah.
remember, like I was before all this stuff happened. I was in London and I was working on Little Mermaid, and we had several things that we with hair that just trying to figure it out, going back and forth. And I remember my actress, her mother said, she goes, "Camille," she goes, "just stick with the process." I was like, "You're right. We're just going to stick with the process and we're going to get there." And we did get there and we, landed on her look, but we went through several incarnations to get there, but we got there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is a process. Sometimes is
Yeah.
longer, sometimes than
Yeah.
others. Sometimes it comes more simply, and other times it's an uphill battle.
I
But
mean, you
you
just
just
you
keep
just
with
keep
it.
with it. Like, I mean, Jamie, even on Black Panther, finding some of those looks. I mean, we were working really hard, like to figure out, some of the wigs, like some of the tribal wigs. I mean, we were like it took some research and development. Try this, try that, try this, go over here. But we're gonna get there. But sometimes you just got to
Yeah.
work the process. Just got to work the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good advice. And I was going to ask you, what attributes do you feel someone needs to be a successful head of department?
I think one of them is diligence, dedication. I
Hmm.
think you have to be kind. I think it's important to be kind. And I think you have to love the craft. And like we talked about earlier, I think you have to
Yeah.
realize being a department head is not first of all the popular position. You have to make hard choices. You have to
Yeah.
do things that sometimes people are not going to like.
Mm.
So you have to get out of if you need to be liked all the time, then you shouldn't be the department head because you're
Mm.
in management and you're managing people. And as I said before, managing hair and makeup people are like herding cats. You can't herd cats. So it can be very, very difficult. And you have to make tough decisions. You have to tell people, when they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And you just have to, just nail it sometime. And that's just part of the job. So, those are all things that you have to think about when you go into being a department head. It's a big responsibility. And especially nowadays, you're responsible also for people's health and for their safety. So it's a job that you
Yeah,
have to keep your eyes open at all times and be aware of what's going on.
absolutely. So, when you're looking for team members, what are you looking for in somebody?
This is how I look at it. I like people you have to be a team player. If you're not a team player, it doesn't
Hmm.
work. And the reason I say that is when you're in the trailer with people, you have to be a team because, sometimes you might hear something and I might hear something and you're like, okay, Camille, I heard this everybody has to be playing on the same team. So if you're not a team player, if you're not somebody who doesn't want to be collaborative, if you don't play well with others, those are things that don't work. But things that do work are people who are, again, who are kind, who come to work every day and they bring their A game. And people who don't mind working
Mm.
hard because there's going to days that you work hard and some days you don't work as hard. but people who sincerely want to be there and want to do the job. That's what I look for. And I don't care necessarily. I don't care. You don't have to be the best hairdresser. You can be a mediocre hairdresser, but if you're a good person with a good heart, I would rather have that than somebody who's great and you're a talented asshole. I'm not interested.
That's a good way of putting it.
I'm not interested because being in the trailer is too small a space to be with somebody for 3 to 6 months of your life, and you are somebody who is unkind, who's unpleasant, and you need therapy. And the trailer is not the place for therapy, and I'm not your therapist. We're there to do a job. Yep.
No, there's no time for it. I mean, there's so much other stuff going on that it's the last thing you want to be dealing with.
Some people bring all their junk and put it right there, like, in the middle of the trailer, like, a big steaming pile of shit, and put it in the middle of the trailer. It's like, oh, great, we got to deal with this. No, we have enough to deal with.
Exactly. And what do you feel has helped you stand out?
I'll be honest. I'm just going to be honest. What I think a big part of it is, I think I have a good personality, and I am a team player. And honestly, I really take it to my connection to God and the universe, and just how I work on myself as a person. And I truly love what I do, and I try to bring that element into it. So I think that's
it comes through, doesn't it?
That's what comes through. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I have going for myself. And plus, I have to tell you, I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. I can do a little bit of everything. So I think that's helpful.
That's very helpful.
And plus, and two, I'll say, especially in these days, I found because I can do all textures of hair. There's not a head of hair that sits in my chair that I'm afraid of. So I think that helps.
Hey, I thought that this was awesome. The other day I was speaking to Stacey Katz, and she said that she did dog grooming for a while.
Right.
And she said that simply from doing that, she now thinks that there is no hair texture that she could not do. She's just like, if I've done all those crazy dog hair textures, she's like, I can do any hair texture. I can cut it. It's just like, that's amazing.
And there's no hair texture.
I thought that was very cool.
There's no hair texture that scares me. So, I think being open to, especially now we're getting to films that are multicultural, and you have people that have every texture of hair. You have every race of actor, and they deserve to have somebody when they come in the trailer that knows how to do their hair. And I'm that person. So
yeah, that's very cool. I was going to just leading out from that, what techniques and skills would you like to see hairstylists develop more?
Definitely people skills and management skills. Those are one thing. And I think, definitely with the natural hair movement, I think it's really important that, and unfortunately, as hairstylists, we've been thrown under the bus by the Black actresses. We have, and rightfully so, because too many times, let's say the actresses, the models, like I've seen it in so many different mediums, that they go places and people don't know how to do their hair. So I think it's really important now that in your arsenal is that you know how to work with natural textures of hair and curly hair. Anywhere from like, I'm talking like, a 3A all the way down to, a 4C. And if you don't know what those numbers are, that's what I'm talking about. You should know what those are at this, and you should know how to work with those textures. But that's what we teach in Hair Scholars.
Nice one, lady. I was going to say that the little New Zealand girl myself coming to LA and slowly watching and observing and figuring out, it just seems so strange to me that in such a diverse country that there were people who really didn't know how to do textured hair. And I came up, that texture of hair wasn't really around me. Certainly lots of beautiful, thick Polynesian hair textures and hair textures like that, but I just hadn't been exposed in our tiny little country to all the textures that are available. And I think I couldn't understand why, if everybody lives here together, why you hadn't done somebody's
I
hair,
know,
like
I know that
worked in
puzzles
with
you.
that hair texture. Like, I know it sounds really, it just seems really naive and stupid of me, but I was just like, and I'd had a couple of stylists go, "Oh no, I don't do
Yeah.
that texture here." I'm like, "What? But it's hair. I don't understand. Stop it.
Well,
Just."
Jamie,
Yeah, anyway, just as a little foreigner coming in, I was very surprised and I couldn't
but
quite work it
this is the
out.
thing
But,
I can say about you,
you know,
Jamie. You are fundamentally, you are different. And probably because you weren't raised here. Like those of you who don't know, I'm just gonna say, Jamie was my what do you call it? Assistant department head on Black Panther. And she did a great job.
mm-hmm,
And the one thing that I love about you, Jamie Lee, is that she is open and she's willing to learn. So Jamie Lee learned about hair texture and learned how to do it and was confident in it. And the thing about it, it all can be learned. It's not something that you have to be scared of. So, that's one of the great things. It's like the learning curve is always there. And I'm just gonna say, like,
mm,
hair scholars, we did a natural hair texture class, which totally sold out. And it was something where people like you can teach it. Like I've learned how to teach it. I know how to show
yeah,
it. And I mean, there's another job that I recently got that's not even about hairdressing. A company called me, and not even a hair care company called me about they want to learn about
mm,
natural hair. So there is people want to know. There's a world for it. And even within our world, that's one thing like the natural hair movement, you got to learn it, you got to know it, and it's just something that has to be taught. And it can be taught and it's not that hard. It's something that it's learned. And you just have to learn it and practice. Get your mannequins out. Practice it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, hair is hair. It's just
Exactly.
different
And it just
textures.
requires a different tool. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
don't be
Don't be
scared,
scared.
people. And you know what the interesting thing about natural hair, and I say this, is that actually once you understand the texture necessarily with natural black hair, the tools that we use, it's not necessarily hard tools because you're using your hands. Versus if you're doing a braid, if you're
Mm-hmm.
doing a flat twist, if you're doing a two-strand twist, if you're doing a singular twist, or if you're doing a bantu knot, all of these things really don't require a tool. They only require your
Yeah,
hands with product. It's more of a skill building than anything. You don't have to go out,
yeah. I mean, your
right,
hands are the best two
right. You
tools
don't
you've
have to
got.
go out and buy a curling iron or a blow dry. You don't have to do any of that. All you have to do is invest in your skills, in your hand, in your brain, and connect those together. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Get those techniques. That's very cool. Hey, so while you've been coming up in this amazing industry that we work in, what do you feel has changed? What are the things that stand out to you?
I remember like we used to have like lunches for like 2 hours in the sense of you had like an hour lunch
What?
and then okay then you had more time because they would come in and then they would go in and light. You have to remember DPs used to light for an hour after lunch. They used to rehearse and then they
Mm,
would be like lighting house the set for an hour. They used to light for an hour where you don't have that kind of time anymore.
yeah.
Lighting is very, very quickly. They don't take the time to light and do that thing like that anymore because they fix it all in post. They do it. We'll do it in post. We'll do it in post. And that's something for me sometimes that's challenging because I don't want you to do it in post. I want to do it right now. So if you give me the time, and sometimes
Mm,
it might take more time, but if I am smart with my time and I'm being honest about how long it takes to do things, a lot of times filmmakers will give you the time. But I just think, I don't want to do it in post. I want to do it right now. So if I have to put on a wig or do a little alteration, let me do it right now. I don't need you to fix it in post. I want to do it right now.
yeah, do it right the first time.
Yeah, let's just do it right the first time. And that's how I feel about all hairdressing, all makeup. Let's do it right now. Let's do it right the first time. I don't want to go back and fix it. Let's just do it right
Hmm.
now. We have an opportunity. Let's do it. We have the
Yeah,
technology. Let's do it. And that's why we're here. Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. So what would you like to see change in the future?
I would just like for us to be, as hair and makeup people, again, I just like for us to be more global. I like for whoever sits in your chair, no matter what the color of their skin is, no matter what their hair texture, that they can feel comfortable and you know how to do it and you know how to do it well.
Hmm.
And so I don't want to have any more
Yeah.
conversations. I wish we got to the point where we didn't have to have a conversation about race and hair texture. If everybody came to the table and they were willing to do what it took, we wouldn't have to have these conversations. And just having the equality. I don't want to be like, people are like, you're the only black department head that does big movies. I don't want to be the only one. I want there to be people of all
Yeah.
colors. I want there to be black, white, red, purple, Mexican, Asian, like whoever you are. Somebody from Australia, New Zealand. Everybody should have the opportunity. So I just want everybody to have like the opportunity to have some of the experiences and more experiences than I even had, and just be able to have the skills to be a great department head. And that's what I do with Hair Scholars. That's one of my main missions, is just to be able to open up this world to everybody and know that you can have the right opportunities. And part of it is having the education to go forth and do that. And I think that's one thing I was really blessed with the
Yeah.
department heads that I did work with. I learned a lot. So that's what I think.
I like what you think.
Yeah.
It's very good. Hey, now you've worked on a few locations around the world, let's just
Y'all.
say. What's been your favorite so far?
By far, Italy.
Oh,
Italy,
yeah?
Italy, Italy, Italy. Oh, yes. I love all parts of Italy. Venice, Rome, last summer, we're on the Amalfi Coast. Yeah, just drop me off at Italy and say goodbye.
That's brilliant. And the food, oh, so good.
Oh, yeah. It's just all so good. Everything. I love it. I just love,
Yeah.
like, you can walk to the market and just the people. I love it. I love all of it.
Oh, that's very cool. What were you working on there?
I was working on Tenet. I'm working on Tenet on my
Oh,
7 country journey.
that's incredible. So
Yes,
that was just
yes,
one
yes, yes.
location after another, huh?
It was one location after the other. Jamie, you're not going to believe this. I'm going to tell you. I did that movie with, I think it was like, got it down to like 5 trunks. That's all I took.
Well done.
I'll tell you why, because when you're moving that fast and that
Hmm.
crazy, you scale down. It's like, oh shit, I don't need all of this, because every time you got to move it. And it was one of those movies, it was guerrilla. Like, you didn't have people like always helping you do this and helping you do that. Like, we were working. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was, you were moving your own stuff. So do you want to move 5 boxes, or do you want to move like 25? And you just get down, no, you get down to like, okay, this is what I'm going to take, and that's it.
That's a good
So
lesson to learn.
no, it
That's
was. And
amazing.
just keeping it like really like basic. And the good part
Yeah.
about that movie, just honestly though, we didn't have a big cast. So you
Hmm.
kind of like, you knew what you had, and what you were gonna do. And then even like in ordering, like if you knew that you needed something, I was like, okay, we're gonna be in London in 10 days. Let me get my order in now. So when I land in London for whatever I need in London, it will be there.
Yeah.
So that's how I did it.
Thinking ahead. So, how was Christopher Nolan to work with?
You know what, Christopher? He's a beast, but in the best way. I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, he's, I mean, he's a tough filmmaker. But I'm going to tell you this: one thing I love about him, he knows his game. He knows
Hmm.
film. He knows where that camera needs to be. He knows where everybody on that set should be. So he's
Yeah.
very old school because he controls all of it. But he knows the end game. He knows that script. Like if you asked him, well, he'll say, "No, that's not right. Not right. The right continuity." You're like, "Why?" And he goes, "Because this happened, and they went back and forth in time." Like he knows it inside and out, and stuff. Some stuff, like even the script supervisor wouldn't know it. I'm being serious. It was all in his
Yeah.
head. hmm
I
Yeah.
think you can really see that when you watch his films. Like, you
Oh
know that
yeah.
he's the real deal, that
Oh
he's got
no,
it sorted out.
him, like I have to give it, like him, Quentin, Bill Condon. I'm working right now with Rob Marshall. They are the real deal. And I love working with directors like that, who are passionate, who really are, I call them, they're true leaders, they're true generals. And you know what? Listen,
Hmm.
I love working for those guys because they really know what it is to make a movie and to make a great movie. They know what it is. So it's nice. It was good.
So when you
Yeah.
come onto a film and there's a lot of character design to do and working out everybody's looks, what's your approach to that, just with everybody involved? Because I mean, it's not just a party of one, is it? I mean, it's you, it's the cast member, it's the director, it's costume, makeup. So what normally is your approach to that situation?
I always like to always, start just having conversations. Like, have a conversation with the actor, have a conversation with the director. See what people's ideas are. Look at what the costumes are. All of those things all are going to help you. What's the production design. All of those things are going to help you, decide on what the look might be. So I think it's a lot of conversations, and I think it's just being open to what the possibility could be of what this person can look like or how you can alter them.
And I mean, sometimes it's a bit of trial and error, isn't it? I mean, you got to try things
Oh yeah.
to.
You have to that's like when people say they don't want to try things, I'm like, are you kidding me? People don't realize, and I think this is one thing people don't realize, especially about film and when you're doing big movies, you're not going to just have one camera test. One camera test, that's
Mm.
not enough. You need about 5 or 6 of those camera tests. Like, and sometimes, like, when you're doing like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, like, we have tests for different groups of people because you can't test the whole cast and everybody's look in one day. It's too many people. So you
Mm-mm.
have
Yeah.
different sections of people that you're testing and you're trying things. And so that's how it works, to see what works or what doesn't work. And the only way you're going to see it again is get it on screen. That's how you're going to know
Yeah.
if it looks great or if it doesn't. Because to your
Yeah.
eye, it can look one way, but on the screen, it's a whole different thing.
And then everyone can kind of look at it as well and have their say.
Oh, yes, everybody have their opinion. Yay!
And sometimes you walk away and they're like, yep, that's great. And other times you walk away and it's just like, I got to go back to the drawing board. We got to
Exactly.
almost start again.
But that's the good part about camera tests because in fewer situations where you don't have a camera test, like
Mm.
like you could go to that first day of dailies. Well, people don't really go to dailies anymore, Camille. I'm sounding like a dinosaur. But if you're, at home watching your dailies on your computer, you're looking at things and you're like, oh, that doesn't look so good. But if you have a
Mm.
camera test and you get to work these things out, that there's really a place for a camera test. And like I can sometimes tell movies that had camera tests or who didn't, and they didn't get a chance to work out the look. I can kind of tell sometimes.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah,
prep is so important. And I do feel like
crucial.
it's kind of disappearing a little bit.
I know that's not good, but it's
I mean,
crucial.
not for the big
Yeah, it's crucial
not
though.
for the big giants. I think they're still doing it, but just,
Right,
the lower you go
right.
down, it's just like, no, work it out on the day. It's like, okay.
And it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. It
Mm,
just doesn't. It
no.
doesn't. Mm-mm.
And so, jumping back to locations that you've worked, what
Yes,
did you find the most challenging location?
I always find challenging. I mean, actually, on our whole journey, like I think, especially on Tenet, we went to like 7 countries. So some
Mm,
of them I had known about, some of them I didn't. And the one that I thought was going to be really daunting was India.
mm-hmm.
And I was nervous, I was scared. People get you all pumped up about India. You're gonna get sick,
Yeah.
you're gonna you know what? India was one of the most beautiful experiences to me. The people, the culture, I was absolutely enthralled in it and like really loved it. So, that was something that was, but always, I think location a lot of times is challenging because for me, it's more about sometimes about weather, the hot,
Yeah.
the cold. That makes our job tricky. That's what makes our job tricky. And
Yeah.
like another,
Humidity. Ugh.
yeah, all of those things like that makes it hard. But it's just more of that usually, more of that. And like even last summer when we were working out in the desert, like that was challenging. It's hot, it's sweaty. I mean, you're in mask all day because you're in, dust storms, sandstorms. It's a whole different mindset. You just have to, you have to get your mind ready for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Prepare.
Yes. mentally
Absolutely.
prepare. And that for me
Yeah.
is for me, honestly, it's the prayer and meditation every day. Like I have to do it because that gets my mind ready for work and keeps me going all day.
So you mentioned, so we've got Tenant to look forward to. I've seen a couple of trailers. I'm very excited.
We have tenants.
What else have you worked on lately? So you mentioned that you were over in London starting on The Little Mermaid. So
The
that's
Little
pretty exciting.
Mermaid, working with one of your friends, Peter Source King, on Little Mermaid, which is exciting.
Uh,
And I'm doing Little Mermaid. Her name is Halle Bailey, and she is lovely. She is a songstress and a singer. I mean, she has a voice. I mean, Jamie, her voice is like an angel. Like, woo! I mean, just a beautiful voice that you don't hear very much anymore. Like a beautiful, beautiful voice. She sings like an angel.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. I know there's a lot of excited Disney fans out there. I'm going to be terrible and say that I've actually never seen The Little Mermaid, and maybe I should
Of
watch
course,
it.
you have.
I know. What does that mean? No, I'm not a Disney princess
You're not
girl.
a Disney person. Jamie's not a warm and fuzzy person, so that's not her deal.
But I think I'm going to have to watch it. Maybe.
Well,
Or just watch the movie. Maybe I'll just skip that and watch the film that you're working on. We'll just go to live action.
You could do that. You could totally do that. Like actually, of course, I watched the original again. I had seen it, and it's so funny though because like I'm like you, I watched it, but you know, I was older, and so one of my goddaughters, I was telling her, she was like, "Oh my God, you're gonna do Little Mermaid." She goes, "You know, on Little Mermaid 2, you know, Ariel had a baby." I said, "What?" Like she gave me the whole rundown because you know when you're a kid of that generation, she watched all the inceptions of Little Mermaid. So,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, Ariel had a baby. What? So, but I think what's great about this movie again, it's going to be a global movie and you know, it's beautiful that Disney and decided to, you know, have Ariel like she's a black girl. And that love conquers all and love is not a skin tone, and I hope people really love the movie. And we're sticking very close. It's going to be very close to you know the original, but it's going to be live action. And you know Haley Berry has a voice that, oh my God, I'm serious. Wait, I mean she sings like a mermaid. It's like an angel. Like it's incredible. I was
That's
with
so
her.
awesome.
I was with her at Abbey Road, which is you know
Oh, yeah.
the famous music studio, which I was like, when I walked in there, I just got chills. Like I was frozen. And like to hear her sing with the full orchestra, I'm serious. I started crying. Like it was moving. Like it was just an experience. I'm just so glad I got to have. Definitely.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, one, going to Abbey Road, and then two, being witness to that. That's amazing. See
Yeah.
the amazing things you get to do in this line of work.
We do. Oh, we get to do some amazing stuff. We really do. We really do.
That is very cool. I'm excited
Yeah.
about that. Yes.
No, it's going to be cool.
You worked on the last Charlie's Angels that came out.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, I did. I did. I did. And again, another like fun filled went to Germany and went to Istanbul, and everybody was so nervous about going to Istanbul. I fell in love with Istanbul. What a beautiful place. What beautiful
Yeah.
people. And I remember like the first morning, like we got there in the evening, and the next morning we had gotten up and gone to the trailer and just hearing that call to prayer and hearing people praying like that just awoke in my soul, just so beautiful, so much culture and going through the markets. It's just again it's just like such a great experience that we get to have, the traveling and seeing and doing, and again going to Berlin and seeing all my friends in Berlin. I love Berlin. I love all my friends in Berlin. So it's a great town too. So a great town to make a movie.
And then you're working with an amazing director who you've worked with as an
Yes.
actress, looking after
Yes.
her hair, which is very cool, and a bunch of kick-ass females that are just doing it. Like, that must have
No.
been pretty cool to be working on that.
You know what? It was a lot of fun, a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And Elizabeth Banks is not only a client, but she's also, I would consider her a friend. And
Hmm.
it was just great to be able to support her. In her directing, her directing now, and like I like it's funny. We were talking. Actually, I talked to her the other day, and we were talking, and she was like, "Camille, you were there for my first short," and I was like, "Was I?" She's like, "Oh my God." I was like, "I forgot about that." So, just to see her grow as a person and grow in her career and grow as a director, like, it's been fun to be with her and see all of that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Hey,
Yeah.
now I'd like to know, what is one tool or product that you would not want to work without? I understand there's many, but I just want you to choose one.
Oh, Lord. I don't
Your
know.
true love. What's your true love?
You know what? I don't know. That's a hard one. Oh, my. My. Oh, God. I'm going to say this. You know what I'm going to say? I know this is going to sound crazy. I'm going to say I can't be without my dim and brush
That's not crazy. You're
or
not the first to say
or
it either.
my Dimman brush, my Mason Pearson brush,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to say, my Kerastat. It's
Is that
the
like a
orange. Oh,
finishing oil? Oh, in the
yeah,
orange bottle. I
and
know
the
the one.
orange
I don't know what
bottle.
it's called.
What is it? It's Kerastase Ole Relax Oil. Let me get this.
Mm,
Kerastat Ola Relax Oil. It's the one in the orange. That's one of
yeah,
my
yeah.
favorites.
Beautiful. I thought I have to kind of come up with this answer myself, seeing as I'm asking the question.
What
And
is your answer?
yeah, well, mine's a tail comb. I just never want to be without my tail comb. And I'm a hairspray lover, lady. I don't use it all the time, but I wouldn't want to be caught in a situation where I didn't have my small can of hairspray.
I think, yeah, I agree. A small can of hairspray, and also I say a tail comb with a metal tip for me.
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah,
either a metal tip tail comb user or not.
yeah, I'm a metal tip. I'm a metal tip girl. So that I would say that's I agree with that. The metal comb, yeah, yeah, and like a working hairspray, not a hard hairspray, like a working
Mm-mm.
hairspray for me.
Yeah,
Yeah. What's your
absolutely.
favorite?
Couldn't
Okay,
agree
what's
more.
your? See, now I'm asking you questions. What's your favorite working spray?
Everyone judges me so harshly on this, but I really love Tresemme hairspray.
No, I'm
And
gonna
I
tell you
know that that
something.
is really naughty, but the fragrance is not offensive. It is not sticky. It is not hard. The sprayer always works every time. It you can it yeah. Sorry, just love it. Love
No,
it. I know it's
no,
cheap
I
and
totally
nasty,
get it.
but
No, no, no. But I'm going to tell you something. If you know something, there's a lot of hairsprays by major companies that are built around that Tresemme hairspray. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Okay.
it's my fave. And you know
Okay.
what? They just brought out a one that has no fragrance.
Oh, see, I'm going to tell you something. I really, and this is something, this is kind of new for me.
Mm.
I kind of like, fragrance it never bothered me or I never really cared. But
Hmm.
now, when I open a product and it's so much fragrance, I'm like, ugh, like I have a new response to that. And I never
Yeah.
had that before. But now the fragrance, such the penetration of fragrance, I'm really not into it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
something kind
interesting.
of new for me. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't love all the fragrance. So I get it. Well, I'll be getting some Tresemme, honey. I'm gonna try me some Tresemme with no fragrance.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah,
Winning all round.
yeah.
And who is the one person that you'd like to hear on the podcast?
Who would I like to hear on the podcast? That's a good question. You know who a hairstylist I've always loved from afar? And I'm gonna give you two, and they're old school. One of them I worked for her in the beginning. Her name is Josie Norman. Josie Norman
Mm-hmm.
is retired now. She's French. I'm gonna tell you, hands down, one of the best hairdressers I've ever worked with.
Okay.
And what I love about Josie, she's talented, she's a good leader, and she's kind. She's
Mm-hmm.
kind. She's a great hairstylist and all those things. And also the one who I love who is he cracks me up is Martin Samuels. I'm gonna give you two old school people.
Okay.
He's another one. Martin's very talented. He did Pirates. He did Avita. And he has like little hands, and I love watching his little hands move everything around. And then also, have you talked to Gloria Casney? Have you talked to Glow?
Lady, do you know, yeah, I've been trying to get Glow on this situation.
Oh, you can forget about it.
I keep circling back around. I'm like, so are you ready?
No,
and she's just
no,
like, I don't know.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'm about to tell you that one. If you get that one, honey, you'll get a prize. But anyway, yeah.
I know. It'd be good to hear her story. Absolutely.
Yeah, she has great stories too. Yeah.
So before I wrap it up, lady, is there anything else that you want to cover?
I mean, only thing I just want to say is, and I talked a little bit about Hair Scholars. It's my educational company, and I think one thing that's going to take us into the next 10, 20 years is as a whole is us getting educated and us opening our minds to all different hair textures, all different management, and really mentoring some of the younger people who want to be in this business. I think it's really, really important. And like, I really found my calling with all of it. And I really love mentoring people. I love teaching people and educating people. And it takes nothing away from what you do. It's not taking your job. It's not any of that. And it makes me a better person. And I just love the interaction with people. And it's a real exchange of love. And it's something I really found I really love to do. So
that's awesome. I think too, as a head of department, like putting that time and effort into training and helping your crew, I mean, you're going to have the best team out there, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, Why would you not pass that knowledge on to your team members to have an amazing team of people to work with? It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think, and sometime in the trailer, when I get a chance to do it, like if somebody's doing something cool, it's like, hey, come look at what this person is doing. This is really cool. Like, having those, like, there's always teachable moments. There's always something that you haven't seen before, how somebody does. It's like, wait a minute, let's see how you do. Let's see that. Let's watch it. So, there's always teachable moments. And I'm always I'm always learning about things. So, I like to keep my interest going. But I'm a curious person. I'm one of those people. I'm nosy. I'll get all in your business. You know how I am. I'm nosy. But part of my curiousness is good. That's what, keeps my hunger too.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of artists, that's it. Like everybody, they love to keep learning. Like, and when that, if it stops, if that hunger kind of dies down, then they're a bit lost or they, you know what I mean? So it's, I think
that's what keeps you
awesome.
going. Yeah. I like that.
I love it. Hey, thank you for joining me, Camille. It's been so awesome.
Well, thank you, Mama. Thank you. And how can I find this? Where am I going to be able to find this podcast?
Lady, anywhere where podcasts are streaming. Apple Podcasts, all over the place. Spotify.
Okay.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Are you tired of having sore shoulders, neck, and a bad back? Are you fed up with clutching actor bags under your armpits whilst doing your last looks on set? And what about those frustrating moments rummaging through an overfilled shoulder bag? Sound familiar? We have the comfortable, practical, and slick solution for you. Linear Standby Belts manufactures customizable tool belts designed for hair and makeup artists by a hair and makeup artist, Georgia Lockhart Adams. It consists of a high-quality padded belt and 12 interchangeable accessories and pouches, which will hold all your on-set needs. With a handy Velcro top on all pouches, you can swap out and change bags quickly. Even hand over actor bags to your colleagues if you step away from set. Work with both hands free and with all your essentials within easy reach. It is a game changer and will make your long working day easier. Come along and join the LSB revolution. Why wait? Visit linearbelts.com to order your customizable tool belt today.
And guys, if you want to get 15% off your linear standby belt from LSB, use the code LASTLOOKS. Get 15% off your purchase. Go get it. Okay, Last Looks crew, thanks for listening. And remember, if you love it, share it. A quick scroll down and you'll find our show notes. Or maybe you'd like to give your support and leave a 5-star review. Go on, I know you want to. Search the Last Looks podcast on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, whichever one tickles your fancy. And a massive shout out to the husband, Brett Stanley. Without his patience and tech support, this whole podcast situation simply does not happen. And cheers to Liliana Rose for her fabulous voice acting talents. Okay, Last Looks crew, that's a wrap for me. I don't need to be told twice to get out of here, so bye. I'll catch you on the flip side.
That's a wrap, people.